the top of the hour, and so we'll get this kicked off today. My name is Jessica DeGraff, and I'm the Director of Retail Accounts here at Proven Winners, and just have the unique pleasure of hosting this fun webinar series. We've done a fall and winter webinar series for the past couple of years, and many of you that have joined us in the past, you know who Katie Elzer-Peters is. We're so happy to have her here today. She's just a dynamo, but we're excited about the fall webinar series. And the reason that we host this is really to help you as independent garden centers and as growers to really look at how do you work on instead of in your business. You know, we get kind of focused on that day to day, and sometimes we don't look at greater overarching strategies to really help us in our business. And so I'm just blessed to work with a really unique team of women, very talented women that support independent garden centers. And you see some of those folks on the screen. I also wanted to give a quick call out to Kate Spurgeon. I know many of you know Kate from her days managing and really being the editor for Garden Center magazine. She now works for Proven Winners and has just been an amazing resource for us. So Kate is on the webinar with us today, and she'll be answering questions as we go through the session. Real quickly, just a quick few housekeeping items. All of you are in, of course, listen only mode. That said, we really do want you to interact. I know I'm seeing a lot of things pop up on the chat. Certainly, if you'd like to chat with one another, if you'd like to chat with Kate and with Tammy on Katie's side, they're here to help. They want you to interact. If you have questions, feel free to use the Q&A as well. Couple quick things. I always get the question, is the webinar being recorded? Yes, it is. Katie's been gracious enough to allow us to do that. She's going to have a ton of info today. So if there are those on your team that can't join, if you want to watch this again, it is being recorded. We'll send out an email and we'll also post that on the Proven Winners website. So without further ado, I want to just formally introduce Katie Elzer-Peters. You know, for those of you that are not familiar with Katie, number one, shame on you. Number two, you are in for an amazing day today. Katie is the founder and CEO of the Garden of Words. And really what Katie does and what her team does is they specialize in digital marketing. So everything from email marketing to SMS to websites and SEO. But what Katie's going to be talking about today is AI. And I know so many of us, AI is a big buzzword. We have a lot of questions. Some of you may be further along in the process than others, but what Katie's really going to hyper focus in on today is really looking at what is generative AI, how those programs work, what some of those programs are and how they work, ways to use them to streamline your business and best practices within that, right? Because there certainly are best practices like anything else. And then, you know, more than anything, what are those activities you should be avoiding? Because there are some that you should not be doing. And so Katie's going to share a ton of info. I'm going to step back and let her jump in really quickly, but we're so happy to have you here today. And certainly if you have questions, let us know. Katie, I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you, guys. I am going to share my screen. I'm going to share my whole desktop because I want to take you guys for a test drive through some things too. So while this is coming up here, I'll get my slides up and get your phones out. You are going to want to, I'm just going to move us. So you're going to want to grab the, do the QR code because that is going to give you the slide deck. And the slide deck also has, at the very end, I have some more resources. And I also have another slide at the very end for you to scan. And I also put the link in the chat, and Tammy can probably fish it out from further up in the chat. But this is going to give you the start. So I told Kate and Jessica, I was like, my presentation will be done 5 minutes before we have the webinar. And that is because AI news, events, and developments and everything basically move at the speed of sound right now. And so a whole bunch of stuff happened on Monday that was actually germane to what we're talking about. So I wanted to catch up on it. So this is very fresh. Even if you saw me talk about AI at the Garden Center show in August, there's a bunch of new stuff here today. So as Jessica said, I own a digital marketing agency. And I guess I've always kind of been interested in what's new. I actually asked Tammy, because Tammy and I have known each other for a long time. I was like, why do you think I'm into tech? Because I'm a plant grower. I went to Purdue. I went to the University of Delaware. I'm a horticulturist, but I also really like telling people about things that I really like and I'm interested in. And that makes me great for marketing. And so Tammy said, she was like, I just think you've always been interested in new things. So off we go. This is one of my favorite ChatGPT memes because, and I think it's very germane to us. Hey, ChatGPT, finish this building. And as we know in horticulture, it's not like a bot can grow a plant for us, but it can help us have more time to grow plants. So today, the way we're going to tackle this subject, because it's big, is we're going to talk about understanding generative AI, managing people and contractors and software, and then doing. And I want to take you for a little test run with some of the tools. So I did reboot all of my internet and computer and everything so that we have good bandwidth to do that today. Earlier today, I wasn't able to log into ChatGPT. I put it on a different browser, so we'll see. But by the end of the today, what I'm hoping is that you will have a much better understanding of what the generative AI is now, where it's like some of the directions that it is heading, and then some ways to use it in your business. And then we have and Jessica can put I can't even remember when it is, but we have another session in the winter where, again, I will finish that talk right before we have it, because between now and then, there will be a whole bunch of new things that we're going to talk a lot more about, like super getting down to brass tacks and really working this into your business. So today, what I'm hoping is once you understand it and you know about some of the tools, you can leave and you can do some things, and then you can come back to our like 201 version, and we'll do some more use cases and practicing there. Okay, so why should you care about AI? If you know me, you know I have to get Harry Styles in as soon as I can to the talk. He will feature prominently today. I'm going to talk to you about why you should care about AI now. One is copyright laws. You cannot, and this is all stuff you need to know so you can manage your people. Anything right now in the United States generated by AI the copyright cannot be defended. So let's say somebody's like, hey, I have this new mug design or t-shirt design, or I have a new logo or whatever, and I made it using Midjourney. You will not own that artwork. And so you can't protect that intellectual property. And that's really important. That's just really important if you're in the business of sharing information, which in addition to growing plants, we are telling people about how to grow plants and whatnot. Privacy and security is a big thing. You don't want to just dump your point of sale system out and upload it all to ChatGPT. You want to be careful about your clients' and customers' data. So even if you want to use some of these tools to analyze your data, which I have, and it's pretty cool, you need to strip out identifying information. You also want to read as you are buying new appliances. The next refrigerator you buy is probably going to have some sort of AI capability in it. You want to read, like actually read, or at least try to like Command F search for AI in policies for software that you use, appliances that you buy, subscriptions, all of that, because AI is getting baked into everything that we do. And you want to know what you are, acquiescing when you sign up for something. A good example of this is Zoom had some AI language in some of their terms and conditions, but they didn't really call attention to it. And somebody unearthed it and put it all over the news, and Zoom had to come in and kind of massage their policies. So believe, and it's a lot about like, it's the same with like data handling and storage and all that. And the reason why AI is such a concern, I'm kind of like horses out of the barn, toothpaste is out of the tube when it comes to a lot of privacy things. But with AI tools, people can replicate you, your voice, your likeness, all of that, and use it for misinformation. So really important to read privacy. Customer engagement. This is where things are going, and we'll talk a lot about this today. But there's two ways that customer engagement, I think, will be impacted by AI. One is search, and we're going to talk more about search. And then the other one is people are going to expect that they have some kind of chat capability or chat bot to get some immediate answers from you or your staff or your AI bot that's been trained on all of your company policies. They're going to come to expect that from you because they're getting it in other places. They're getting it from not necessarily but they are getting it from like airlines or their website host or any, big company that they can access online. I had a note in something, I think it was a newsletter lately, that just said, if everybody sees a nice seating area, there's one thing I love more than Harry Styles, and that's a couch. So if people see nice seating areas in in the stores that they shop all the time, in the clothing stores, they are going to expect them in the garden centers. Anything at all that they use in their daily life that becomes routine, they're going to expect us to provide it too. So that's a reason. Customer trust. So even if you're using AI, you have to check it. You always need to have a human in the loop. That's kind of what the phrase that people use, because when we're talking about lingo, AI, generative AI will what's called hallucinate and just make stuff up that's not true. And so the most frequently cited example of this was in the summer. There was a lawyer that used ChatGPT to do research for cases to cite, and it just made up cases, and then the lawyer used that in court, and that has not gone very well for him. Another thing with customer success is that, for example, making sure that things are labeled correctly, that whatever comes out of the AI is correct, is a big deal, and also where consumers and customers are getting their information. So this is some kind of rose family tree. I don't know if it's a mock orange or I don't know exactly what this is, but it is labeled in Shutterstock as jasmine. And the way I know this is because one of the clients that we work for, as we do the email marketing, they email every day, sometimes twice a day. So we batch the emails and we pull images from Shutterstock and then put them on an image sheet, and we create all of the hero top images in bulk. And so the person that helps me with that is pretty good at horticulture, but not lifelong dyed in the wool, garden person. And so she had pulled this for jasmine because it was labeled jasmine and she didn't necessarily know. And that's the getting the wrong information. That's why we want to care about AI. As you will see, I actually asked ChatGPT to tell me what was in this picture yesterday, and it got the genus right, but not the species. And so if customers are using AI chatbots to get gardening information, may or may not be right. Why you should care about that is that you still need to talk to them. You need to keep up your marketing. You can't just rely on, the Google or the ChatGPT to give them info. Why you should care now, profits. So there are a lot of subject line assistance, writing assistance. Let us AI write this stuff for you. So this is a screenshot from Attentive, easy to grow bulbs that we work with. These are all suggested messages from Attentive, and whether or not these are accurate or not, these are all twice as expensive as what I would write. I know how long an SMS message is to use 1 credit. Whenever they suggest SMS messages, they are always at least 2 credits. Those don't necessarily do any better, and they cost twice as much. It's really easy to use some of these assistants and then encounter the equivalent of lighting money on fire. So that is why you want to make sure that anybody using these AI tools is trained essentially to know, just because it comes out of the tool doesn't mean it's right, doesn't mean it's what you want to do. You still need to think and use your brain. So I think that's important. Another thing with profits, what I'm going to show you about is you can use some of these tools to recoup some profits, which is get ChatGPT to help you write posts. You can edit them. You definitely need to fact check them. But this was a little exercise I did where I just asked it to write 5 social media posts, and it wrote some Instagram, some LinkedIn, and the language that they used were a little bit different. Now, I did think it was funny that it still put emojis for LinkedIn, because I don't think LinkedIn is emoji type of place. But I'm going to show you in a little bit some really cool things you can do with Canva's AI assistants now that are relatively new. I mean, within the last month or so, that could really save you a lot of time and therefore money. This is the big one. If you take away 0 other things from today, take away the fact that AI is going to impact search. It's already impacting search. So what's going on is that in Google in particular, and I mean, Google, we could talk for an hour about how Google is eating its own tail. But Google has a generative AI component or choice. And so when I went and I said, how do I get my orchid to rebloom? This is the top of the screen. I haven't scrolled. What is missing from here? Any place to shop, any place nearby. So the whole search industry is got their eye on what's happening here with generative AI results, because all of these people and companies and businesses have made their money in helping other businesses show up on Google. And if people just engage with the generative AI search results, which you'll see here, it can keep going, and don't click away and don't click and visit your information. How are they going to know about you? And anybody that you talk to, listen to, anything you read definitively says right now, they can't definitively say what's going to happen. It's just something to be aware of. I think my next slide is, you have to keep email. All right, I am the queen of email. Last week I did a webinar on email. If you didn't get to attend, you can always shoot me a note. I'll send you a link to watch it. That was just one I did myself for my company. With everything going on, algorithms, Instagram, the day after Instagram launched Threads, everybody who has built their entire business on Instagram videos was messaging and posting about Instagram not working, because all of a sudden their entire money source just dried up because they couldn't get in touch with their customers. So with all of the changes, especially with search, you've got to keep your email marketing or your SMS marketing. And I could talk about email forever, and I'm not going to do that. But hopefully this shows you, this is a search I did, I'm not kidding, 10 minutes before I download the PDF and sent it to Kate today. What's the best place to buy plants near me? Look at what showed up. In the top, these are all the ads. Obviously, these are all online businesses. They are nothing to do with IGCs. And then what were the top garden center listings? Walmart and Home Depot. Now, we don't have tons of garden centers in Wilmington, but we do have some. This concerns me. So when you have people that are good customers, get their info and talk to them yourself. Don't rely on the internet. Don't rely on somebody else. It's don't build your house on the sand. If you live in the Outer Banks, you know why? Because eventually it will wash away. Okay, why you should care? Future customer expectations. People are going to expect to be able to upload something like a tomato with, I don't know if that's blossom end rot or not, but that's nasty. They're going to expect to be able to upload it to a little chat bot, and for the chat bot to look at it and be like, oh, that's a pH problem. Here's what you need to do. They're going to expect that type of instant results. That's future. That's that's future. Here is some future that's here. I don't know if any of you actually have talked with Boomerangel. That's the company that's owned by John Kennedy and Suni, his wife. And Suni, first of all, Suni is amazing. She is the coder. She's the computer person behind all of this. And I talked to her this summer and she's like, oh yeah, when somebody wants something, I'm like, oh, we can just make that. So what she was in the middle of just making it when I met her this summer was their AI bot that is built with ChatGPT. And what this can do, and this is really neat for you guys, and this could be customer facing or it could be IGC facing, or not IGC, like staff facing, internal, is that they can train this bot that they call Rue on your employee handbook, and then your staff can just chat with Rue about like, where do I find my schedule? What's the dress code? What are our hours? And again, this is a whole, like, just the population as a whole are going to start expecting to be able to interact with what formerly would not have really been interactive media, words on a page, PDFs, all that kind of thing. They want to be able to converse with information, basically. And lucky for you, that's already happening. All right, another future is here. Scapify trained a bot based off of ChatGPT's model with gardening information from the University of Georgia Cooperative Extension. And so now there is at least one, and I'm sure there will be more, GPTs, chatbots that are garden trained. Now, how well do those work? We can talk about that later, but that exists. So go check out Scapify and their Master Gardener AI. And that is something you could embed on your website. So this is what I was talking to Mario, who owns the company. A garden information trained chatbot could be really useful to you and your website for pre-purchase questions, such as, like, what are some good shrubs for shade? What are some annuals that are pink blooming and bloom in, or I guess the annuals will bloom all summer. Maybe, like, if it was a perennial, what are some perennials that are good for butterflies with yellow flowers? Like, all of that kind of just like random crap that you don't have a whole lot of extra time to talk to people about. What if they could get that answer on your website through a chatbot? They're gonna ask a chatbot somewhere. It might as well be on your website. This is already happening in interior design, and it's only a matter of very short time before it's available for horticulture. People are going to expect to be able to upload a picture of their house and then generate, a rendering of what might look good and take that list and bring it to you and buy those plants. All of this is going to happen. It's just a matter of when. Another good reason to pay attention to all of this is your tech purchasing decisions. With AI being baked into almost every bit of software that you use, that's going to affect the price. That's going to affect privacy concerns. It's going to affect what you can do with the tech that you're purchasing. Okay, so policy and governance, this is sort of horticulturally related and also not. This is I took this image of Harry Styles at a concert and very crappily cut it out and put him walking around in a botanic garden. But we can tell that this image is fake, or like this image is fake. But how about when somebody makes clones me? That's terrifying. And makes a TV commercial where I'm talking about something that's going to impact policy and governments, and I didn't say it. That's happening now, and that will happen with this election cycle. And what I want to say is, regardless of what your politics are, if you want to see what AI is capable of, you watch what the super PACs do in the United States, because nobody is more motivated to get their version out of whatever it is they're talking about than a super PAC on either party, either side, whatever. The reason to care about policy and governance and false images, false audio, visual, is that policy will affects your local zoning laws, business laws, taxes, immigration, the visas for the people to come work for you. So that's a reason to care about misinformation. And AI is going to make telling what's real and not real hard. Here's another picture. So I had seen this the other day. It was like a giant turtle with horses, and somebody was like, oh my gosh, that's in the Outer Bank, blah, blah, blah. So this is my friend who lives down the street from me, and she's like, this is not real. Like, this is not a loggerhead. This is not, but you see it all the time. It's like natural phenomena that you can tell are not real, but it's like, maybe it just could be. That's the policy and governance situation. Okay, I have calmed down a little bit about my extinction fears, but this is a statement that was put out by the Center for AI Safety in May. You can take it with a grain of salt, but there's always the possibility that this technology will essentially kind of maneuver itself into AGI, and that is artificial general intelligence, which is like basically robots that can do what they want. This is my friend Lisa. She drew this picture of the asteroid and then was like, do you know how to draw dinosaurs? And I was like, is that the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs? And she said yes. And I was like, no, but I have clip art. This image is not real. BT dubs. Okay. That's why you should care. That's sort of the preview of what's coming. Let's get into actually like how the AI works, what you can do with it, etc. So we are now in understanding AI lingo to know. We're going to do an LLM test drive, and we're going to talk about getting sassy. Okay, here is the burning question 26 minutes into our webinar, generative AI. This morning, I was listening to a great episode of this podcast that I have linked at the back of this deck, so you're going to want the deck. And she had the most clear definition that I had ever heard. I had been working with this definition with the word content, but what she said is generative AI is programming that takes existing data to make new data. So it takes existing content to make new content. And that's a shorter, more concise definition of this. So these generative AI, like ChatGPT, have been trained on words and images and all of that. And they use all the data that went in to put stuff out, which is what we do, only we're real, we're not artificial, unless we're living in a simulation, which who knows. Okay, so large language models, LLMs, that you're going to hear LLMs all the time. We're going to do the LLM test drive. This is the model that is trained on text and that generates text that humans can understand. And some of those LLMs are ChatGPT, Jasper, and Bard. Bard is Google's. Okay, prompt. Probably you've heard about prompts. This is just like what you say to the artificial intelligence program to get it to do something. You're prompting it to do something. Predictive text is the way LLMs work, or predictive just functionality. So I think this is really important. This is where we get into like hallucinations, and not with mushrooms, but with code. I'm just going to be like, I have never hallucinated because of illegal substances. I just want to put that out there. Right now, Jessica is like, oh my gosh, Katie. Anyways, so predictive text is the way these bots work. And so they're not directly plagiarizing things. There's a lot of copyright situation. If I were telling anyone in law school what to do right now, I'd be like, go be an intellectual property lawyer. You will be set until, you know, the planet explodes. Because there are a lot of copyright suits going on right now. But they're not literally like lifting pieces of text and then spitting them right back out. They have been trained that and I mean, this is I feel like Baba Black Sheep Have You Any Wool would be a natural thing for anyone that grew up with nursery rhymes. I don't know if we're like aging out of that now. But it is like, if there is a word, it's like QU. It's like the letters QU. If there's a Q, you know there's going to be a U right after it. That is basically how these generative models work, that like, if there is this word, there's a very high probability that this other word is the word that's going to follow it. And it takes in context and everything else. The way they do this is they break the words into what are called tokens, which are basically numbers, bits of data, and then it all crunches in all the machines and spits out for you. Takes a lot of computing energy. I think that actually these are kind of environmentally destructive, but very important for you to know that they work on predictive text. And that is what leads us to the hallucinations. This is the like actual technical word that the community has chosen to call fake information that is generated by the AIs. And we will see some examples of that. It could be LLMs, it could be images, really anything. And that's when, like, remember that law case that we talked about, where you're like, tell me some cases about that have been decided about people speeding or whatever, and it spits out 12 cases and 6 of them were just made up. And because of the way these models were trained, which is firstly with the common crawl data set, which is pretty much everything on the internet that a bot can get to. There's a set of like common crawl data, that's what it's called. It's not citing sources, and it can't really cite sources because it's working via prediction. So there are some new laws. You might have heard about the White House issued a memo about some AI rules and regulations that need to be made within the United States. There's nothing really binding in that. It's not a law. President can't make law. Only Congress can make laws. But that is coming, and part of that is very likely going to be a disclosure of where the information came from to train these large language models, but it's not there yet. So beware of hallucinations in every place. Training is a word to know. How was this AI trained? Like I said, we don't know right now with a lot of them. If it is a very specific bot, like the Master Gardener AI, they say it's ChatGPT based. It's been trained by feeding it all of this information from the University of Georgia Cooperative Extension. You know that. But that is, and an interesting little like aside, copyright lawsuit going on right now with Getty Images, because I don't remember, it was like Adobe. I don't know which AI thing it was, but it was clearly trained with copyrighted Getty Images because the output has still had a little bitty piece of the Getty watermark in it. And that would not have happened if it had not been trained on Getty Images and seen that watermark. So Adobe just announced that it is, and I think in the ChatGPT developer conference on Monday, that they're going to start working in some protections to indemnify people that have used this software from lawsuits. But again, it's a reason to be careful with what you're doing. Another lingo to know, agent. That's an AI program that works toward a specific goal. So, or just a program. So like this looks like the chat box of death that we all encounter when we are trying to change airline tickets. Those are agents. And there's actually, there's a really good book, and heck if I know where it is right now. I was toting it around, telling everyone to read it last year. And I was like, I've already told everyone to read this, so I don't need to tell everyone to read it. It talks a lot about how to interact with these agents to get what you want. The best thing about some of this AI, the generative AI large language models, is that those are programmed to talk to you like you're a human and they're a human. So it should be easier. These things, the chat box of death, should get easier as time goes on. So that's that's positive news. I think this might be our last lingo to know. GPT. What the heck does GPT mean? Why is everybody calling it ChatGPT? This GPT. Generative pre-trained transformer. So generative means it makes something. Pre-trained is it has been trained on all the words on the internet or the images or the music or whatever. And then transformer is it takes one type of information and turns it into another type of information. So it may transform your prompt that you put in. Please write me 5 LinkedIn posts about magnolia trees. It will take that prompt and transform it with all of its pre-trained knowledge into 5 posts. So that's how, that's why it's called GPT. And that's how it describes how they work. Okay, so this is where we are hopeful that the internet that I rebooted works, because I want to show you some stuff in ChatGPT for reals. Okay, so I have pulled up some stuff I did yesterday. First of all, I'm going to open the chat bot right quick. Tell me if this is good. I see John Kenny is giving me next week. Tell me if you've used ChatGPT at all. I think that would be interesting. All right. So here is some ChatGPT. First of all, I'm just going to take it from the beginning and let you see a new chat. So I am signed in. I pay for the ChatGPT Plus because I mainly just want to stay on top of what's going on. If you have the free version of ChatGPT, that's what we're going to do right now. So we'll see if it's being cooperative. If you have a prompt that you want me to try, stick it in the chat. In the meantime, I am going to ask it, how do I get my orchid to rebloom? That seems to be, and if you say please and thank you, believe it or not, that helps. Okay, so assuming that all of the servers are happening, and I didn't tell it how to tell me this, I didn't tell it what I wanted, what format I wanted, I just said tell me how to get it to rebloom. So that's it. This is the free version. That's how fast that happens. Now I could say, and I could read through this and see if it's, right. It's pretty generic. But it's good. Overwatering is a common mistake. This is the well-draining orchid mix, although sphagnum moss is not very well draining, even though it's included with orchids. So you want to check it. Let's say you want to dig further in and say, thank you. Please use this information to make, I'm a very bad typist, for Facebook posts with emojis. All right, so let's watch it. Certainly. Here we go, guys. So if this is getting your ideas flowing a little bit, that's what it looks like. Now, if you pay for the premium version, it has DALL-E, which is its image software already baked in. So I'm gonna say, please make me a picture of a monstera in a living room. All right, and then we will watch it. Their pictures are not the most awesome. Sometimes it'll be like, nope, sorry. But I wanted you to see in real time what this looks like and how it works. So I was going to say, does anybody have a prompt you want me to try with it? If you do, you can stick it in the chat box while it's generating. What magic trick do you want to see it do? Earlier, before you guys got on, Kate Spurgeon and I were talking about, she was like, I feel like ChatGPT is getting worse. And honestly, it's see, it doesn't want to do that. Let's see what DALL-E is currently, high demand. All right. I'm going to show you one that I made yesterday. So this happens sometimes. I do think that if these models just keep being trained on model generated content, it is like the snake eating its tail. So in other words, it's going to start looking crummy. Okay, so here's a chat I did last night. This is my very beautiful camellia, and this is blooming right now, so we know it's a Camellia sasanqua. Well, we who live in South know that. So I put up this picture, I uploaded it, and I said, what type of plant is this? I wanted to see how good it was at identifying it. It says the plant image appears to be a camellia. Yes. Particularly the japonica. No. It says, why it thinks that, but again, this is why you need a human in the loop. With Dolly before, it would add a realistic bird, and so I asked it to do that, and then this is the picture that it came up with for me. Tammy asked it to make a picture of creative briefs because we were talking about a creative brief, and the picture that it made was tie-dyed underwear, so that was pretty funny. All right, and so then I was trying to have it edit the image, and it wouldn't do that for me, but this is a little test drive of the ChatGPT. I'm going to look in the chat, see if anybody has a prompt. So somebody says, what is the proper way to plant a tree? Let's put it in there. Oh, I don't know. It may not like it that I'm on. I may need to make a new chat. Oh, here goes. Let's see. And then someone else says, how do I pick the best houseplant for my space? Okay, here, it's going to tell us how to plant a tree. It's so funny to read, like, it's opening information. Oh my gosh, no, we don't want to update Google. Okay, here we go. Because it always has this very generic, like, this is a great way to contribute to the environment. It's just so funny. It sounds like it's saying what it read you should say to open an article. So here we go. 2 to 3 times wider, but no deeper. There's some pretty good accurate information here. So I wanted you to see how this works. I'm going to do the one more so that when I give you some use cases, you have some idea of how this particular tool works. Now, there are lots of large language models. If you use Microsoft products, you can use Bing, which is confusing because Bing is a search engine, so is Microsoft Edge, but Bing is also their AI tool. So it's not just ChatGPT. What I would say is, like, pick one and try it. So here's the article. Here's the writing that it's generating on choosing a houseplant. And I will say, my first job when I started freelancing was writing $10 blog posts about how to grow tomatoes. It was the golden age of content marketing, and there was a lady in Australia that had written a book on tomatoes, and so she paid me to write blog posts on tomatoes. Today, we could upload that entire book to ChatGPT, and it would spit out those articles. This is the second time in my life that I have been rendered obsolete by technology. So the first time was my public radio job. That is another story for another day. Another thing that I want to show you, this is not necessarily an LLM test drive, but this is the generative Google results. So I'm in Google and I've enabled the generative AI results. We can so my question was, what's the best place to buy plants near me? I am going to ask it another question. Where can I buy camellia? I've got camellias on the brain because they're blooming where I am right now, and I love them a lot. Okay, so here it is. It's generating these search results. If you have Google, you can enable this so you can see how it works. And after this, we're going to go back to the talk for a little bit. Again, this is these are the places that they're saying, this is the ad revenue. I guess nobody local is paying for camellia fertilizer ads. We can do nearby. I don't want to here we go. Okay, here's our generative search. This is actually great. This place is right near me. So there are many places to buy camellia fertilizer. Here you go. So I just wanted to show you what that looks like. Let us go back to our talk, our chit chat. And then I'm going to show you some Canva stuff that's going to blow your mind, but that's in a little bit. First, we have to talk about being sassy. There we go. Okay. All right. So SaaS, software as a service. This is just a good vocabulary word for you to know. The other thing, I have used this slide a lot, but I feel like I cannot pound this enough. We used to buy, remember all those AOL CDs that got sent in the mail, and now they're like whole artworks like AOL Henge or whatever, where people have built things out of the CDs. No more. Now we rent. We are always borrowing technology. And a good point to make about this is that if you start relying on a tool that is free, that is software, there is a very good chance in the near future that you will have to pay for it. So just be careful how you build your systems. A very recent example of this is that Loom, the screen capture video tool, had its AI features as beta, and just like rolled it out to all of us. So it would name our videos for us, it would provide summaries, timestamps, et cetera, et cetera. We all got hooked on it. So when they started making us pay for it, we were like, sure thing, bud. Another thing that you've probably experienced is with marketing and social media. Facebook, Instagram free, showed all your stuff to everyone. Once they got you nice and hooked on it, and that was your main thing, they start making you pay to play. So it's just something to be aware of in general. When I say software as a service, these are all some software as a service that you guys will recommend because you probably use them. So AI tools that are baked into SaaS. One that you may or may not be using is the recommendation engine. So the same thing that gets you to buy a bunch more stuff on Amazon, when you're on there, you can take advantage of if you have any type of e-commerce. You can use the recommendation engines. These are some screenshots from Klaviyo. This takes the past browsing or buying history, depending on how you set up the feed. And what you do is you put this dynamic block in the email, and then depending on who it's going to, it will serve up different products. And we have tested these a lot, and they do really, really well. Subject line assistance, we've already talked about those. So this was funny, that it has nothing to do with here, but I said the product name is ground covers, and I generated a subject line, or this is what I wrote to generate subject lines. Ground covers make gardening easy. They help prevent weeds. And then you can hit generate and it will give you subject line. It may or may not be good. Remember, you got to teach people that just because it comes out of the AI doesn't mean it's amazing. The content writing, talked a little bit about that with the profits. These are all accurate. Now, the interesting thing is when you start talking about bulbs, because bulbs are so seasonal, sometimes it'll say, these daffodils will bloom all summer, because this AI assistant does not been trained to talk about gardening. This is a couple months old, but this was one of Canva's tools, where you could, I just said something like, I need it to make me a picture of people walking around a garden center just in Canva, and it just generated this. Now, it's not the best, but it did this in like 2 seconds. Another thing to take away from today is this is where we are today. This is actually where we were a few months ago, this particular slide. Where are we going to be in 6 months? Where are we going to be in a year? More AI tools baked into SaaS. The photo editing in Canva is amazing. I used to have to pay graphic artists to remove the background from anything. Now I just put the picture in, hit background remover, and there we go. It's gone. And I will show you some more Canva tools. Are these in tools any good? It really depends on the software. So Tammy and I have been trying out Zoom's summary tool, and this was part of the summary from yesterday's meeting. It is relatively accurate. The summary from Monday's meeting was pretty hilarious and a little not safe for work, so I can't go into it. But we were talking about the Kite Festival, and Zoom completely, I don't know, sort of misinterpreted what we were saying, and it was pretty funny. But I mean, amazing. You have an hour-long meeting, and all of a sudden it gives you a summary, it gives you action items, and you could go through and edit this or at least compare it to other people's notes to make sure you didn't miss anything. These are some new in AI. YouTube is rolling out a summary feature and an AI bot selectively, so people can converse with the bot and ask it questions about the video that it's watching. Those analytics will then go to the person that owns the YouTube account, and it will help them understand more what people are talking about, what questions they're asking, without having to read all of the comments. And if you have a YouTube channel for your garden center or your brand or whatever, that is worth looking into. The Zoom summary that I just showed you, and a big thing that was just announced at the AI conference on Monday is GPTs. So I'll talk about GPTs in a minute. So this is a plugin that is not the, this is, or not a plugin, this is a Chrome browser extension right now. The screenshot from this, this summary, the Note GPT, what I'm talking about is slightly different, but we'll do the same thing and be native to YouTube. So it won't be a browser extension. It will be part of YouTube. And where all of this is going is what I talked about earlier, which is people getting used to conversing with agents that will help them, you know, digest more info faster. And then as a tangent to this, on one of the podcast episodes that I was listening to, I think it was the AI Today podcast, they were talking about how if these generative models write introductory level, let's say code, then how does anybody get experience writing introductory level code so that they can then manage the GPTs that are writing the code? It's an interesting thing to think about. I mean, our economies and our jobs have changed. I just told you I've been rendered obsolete at least twice. So what is that going to do? Like, nobody knows how to read a map anymore. I know how to read a map because we used to read a map so we could go stalk our boyfriends, you know, or people that we had crushes on. That skill has kind of gone away. It's more specialized. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But overall, we're moving towards a more like natural conversation with information as opposed to a person. So your guess goes mine where that goes. Okay, let's talk about managing. Need to have a policy. Whenever you now are engaging a marketing agency, a freelancer, anybody, they need to talk to you about how they are using AI tools, if they are using AI tools, and those people, the people that you're hiring, whether it's your staff or contractors, need to know that they must fact check and accept responsibility for what comes out of that AI. This is our Garden of Words AI policy. If you go to thegardenofwords.com, www.thegardenofwords.com, you have to go exactly to there with the plural because there's an anime movie about Garden of Words, so I will never win search with my business name. In the bottom footer, you can read the AI policy. You're welcome to look at it. You're welcome to copy and take it. I am not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. But you are entitled to know if somebody that you've hired is using AI. And you need to train your staff about it because the biggest thing is people are going to start using it. And if you don't talk to them about it, it's a little bit like the talk with your children. They're going to need the talk because even if you don't give it to them, they are still going to engage in certain activities. So it is better to talk to your staff about how to safely use AI. And hopefully this is helping. You can give them some training. You could have them watch this webinar, have them look at this slide deck. Teach them how to write prompts and converse with the AI. And the way you do that really is by doing. So I'm going to give you some tips to like get started. Hammer home the idea that people have to fact check, and hammer home the copyright issue. So I was looking on Facebook the other day, and CL Fornari said, who's a garden writer person in Cape Cod, people were talking about images, blah, 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 and she showed a picture of a house plant with a mouse in it, and she was like, I needed a picture for my presentation. Now, would I publish this? No, because of copyright laws, etc. But will it do for a free Zoom talk? Sure. So there are some use cases for these types of images, even though they can't be copyrighted. Okay, so this is, I know that they grow, I know that square cube-shaped watermelons are grown in Japan in cube molds. This one is, these people don't know that. They think that the watermelon's going to grow in a square. So it's not quite fake, but this type of thing is not happening here. What I want you to understand and kind of impart is that if you are using AI tools, use them with things that you already know about. Like, don't use an AI bot to write your website code for you or build you things that you don't know anything about. But you can absolutely use it to generate content about plants, because you can fact check it, or you can at least eyeball it and know if it's way off base or not. All right, so now we're going to go to doing. So I want you to investigate the AI within your current software that you use, experiment some with LLMs, and incorporate tools into workflows. So here are a few case studies, then I'm going to show you a couple things on Canva, and then we will get to questions, and we're going to wrap up mostly on time. Okay, doing, repurposing content. If you write a piece of content, a blog post, if you give a talk, if you create anything, Canva has a great new set of tools called the Magic Suite. I think we're going to look at it. And if you're paying for Canva Pro, I took my email talk that I made in Canva last week, and I magic transformed it into a summary and a blog post. And you know what? They're pretty good. I mean, I haven't put them anywhere. I just wanted to see what it could do. But this is crazy, you guys. And what I'm saying this not because I want you to fire all your staff, but this is going to help you get a lot of stuff done that you just haven't been doing, period. All right, so try the new search features. Like I told you, I want you to see how search works now with some of this generative. Here is how you finally get some of your product descriptions. Amazon has an AI feature. Shopify has it. You can do this in ChatGPT, and I asked it to write plant descriptions and write in this format. And I mean, they're pretty decent. So if you haven't been able to get your website content done, this is your year. Okay, and then I will show you a little bit on Canva with this editing and creation. So here is my beautiful chameleon picture again. I put it in Canva. I selected the magic edit, and I said, please put a bird sitting on the branch. And this is what it did. It's pretty darn good if you needed something like that for a talk, right? Or a social media post. Okay, so I am going to show you a couple things in Canva and then get to your question, but you're going to want to download the slide deck, because these are all links in the PDF. If I were going to start anywhere with AI, I would start with this stuff. Read these 2 articles, listen to some of the AI Today and Marketing AI Institute podcasts, and try these 3 tools. Grammarly is good, like spell check and grammar. So I am going to put this up for a second so that you can, if you haven't already, zap it with your phone, and then you can, later if you want to connect on LinkedIn. But I want to show you a couple features in Canva, because this is where you can get started immediately with your stuff. Okay, so let me close this chat box. So Magic Studio and Canva, these are all of the different AI apps that they have. If you pay for Pro, you can use them. So here was my Magic Edit. I am going to actually show you this. I'm going to show you this again. All right, so here is, I'm going to take off that picture and I'm just going to put another picture up here. Here we go. These are some people that we work for. All right, so if you're in Canva and you stick a picture on your design and you hit edit photo here, if you pay for Canva Pro, one of the things that you can do is this magic edit. So with magic edit, this, you used to have Photoshop for this. So first of all, you have your little brush. You can change the brush size. I am going to hover over this and I am going to hit continue. And I'm going to say, turn these marigolds purple. We'll see what happens. Generate. And it'll generate 4 different possibilities. And there are all kinds of tools: background remover, erasing things, putting different filters on. It's pretty incredible. But that is Canva. So it's going to work. I'm going to let it work. This is an example of, I hit magic transform on my email marketing talk, and then it gave us these blog posts. I could do that with this talk. I could say magic switch here. And then right now it's like, you're trying to do everything. So one thing that's really cool is it can translate into different language. That's nice. Transform it into a doc. Here we go. Summary, text, email, blog post, poems, song lyrics. I'm very curious what this would do, turning my talk today into song lyrics. But if you're trying to take a talk and break it down into another format, it used to be you were going to have to spend all of this time doing that. And now you don't have to, because you can get Canva to do it for you. So here are some different choices that they have given us for turn these yellow flowers purple. It didn't work exactly the way I'd love it, but you know what? It added some purple flowers. So that's just showing you a little bit of Canva and some of the things that you can do in it. There's a lot of things where you might be like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get started with this? I don't have enough time. But it's already happening in the stuff that you use. So I want to get right quick to Q&A. Okay. So, and I'm just keeping this. Oh, can I do Q&A right quick?
Absolutely, Katie. So okay. Actually, I'll prime the pump. So someone was asking, you had mentioned with Google specifically and being able to change sort of your search. So you can see how that happens with generative AI. Can you show them how to do that? The AI option?
I will sure try.
Okay.
Because I don't remember how I did this. Okay, so here is Google. Here's the Google. All right. So when you when you have Google on, there is, okay, generative AI quality might vary. Let me see. Hold on. Let me open how I turned it on yesterday. There should be, there's somewhere up in the top, there should be something that will ask you if you want to use that search. I'm always just like clicking around. Let's look at settings, search history. Oh, this will tell you if I've done anything weird. I'm always like, please let me have not searched something like, where do I get my dog's toenails ground? Right before I have a talk. Search history, Google. Let me go to my other browser because this one, I don't think I have that on here.
No worries.
Yeah, it's, here's what I would do. I would Google it. How do I turn generative search on in Google? And it will tell you, because I literally did it yesterday and I don't remember.
So Alex is super helpful, Katie, and he said the beaker at the top right. So,
oh, okay.
Super. And Tammy just sent a link too, so that's even better. Thank you, Tammy.
Great. See, guys, this is why we like having people helping. So, because it's Google Labs. That's why the beaker. I think Google Labs is how they're doing that right now. Marcy said, if we ask AI to write an article, can we use that article or do we need to edit it some to use it? Depends on what you're doing. It depends. I would not ever ask ChatGPT to write an article for me and let's say hand it into my editor at Green Profit. Like, you really should not present it as yours if you're getting paid, anything like that. Can you use something like that and put it on your website, put it in your email, do social posts with it? Yeah. I mean, you just can't defend the copyright. That's the thing. So if it is something where it is important to maintain control of that intellectual property, then no, don't use it or substantially change it. What I didn't talk much about is how I use ChatGPT, but we have a whole nother session, but I use it a lot for brainstorming. I also use it to see like what the internet, here, I'm going to stop sharing because you're just on my Google string, what other people might be talking about. Like, let's say I do need to write an article about, I was writing an article about live inventory. I was like, what are the important things to think about with live inventory? I mean, it's kind of like Google. It'll spit out a bunch of stuff and then you can investigate further. It might say live inventory, you need to have good barcodes. What is the anatomy of a good barcode? And just keep drilling down. And what ChatGPT will do that Google will not really do is it will help you go deeper into that information. Of course, you need to verify anything that you take from it, but I use it a lot. Give me 30 ideas for houseplant social media posts. And I might use them. I might not use those ideas, but oftentimes it'll spit something out where it's like, I have not thought about that. And then it'll trigger you to go think about it more in a way that just using regular online search won't, because that's not necessarily the point of online search, is not necessarily to spark an idea. So we wouldn't, if any of us use it, that's how we use it. I also use it to summarize sometimes. I'll use it to compare documents. Sometimes I'll say, here's a bunch of data. I strip out identifying information, like I take out the subject line, I take out the campaign name, but I have a spreadsheet that has all the rows, so I could match rows and I'll say, which row has the highest average order value? Which row has this? Show me in a pie chart which, campaign, whether it was retail information, whatever, like show me, like visualize this data for me. And so that's pretty cool. So those are some of the things.
I think it's amazing, Katie. I mean, all of the opportunities here. I think there's, it's been a great introductory level dive into what is AI, how can garden centers use it. I'm super excited about, and we'll be sharing more information about Katie joining us after the first of the year to talk more about AI and at a deeper level. So really looking at it at that 200 or 300 level to learn how to use that, for your specific garden center. But knowing that we're about almost 10 minutes after the top of the hour, I would highly recommend folks. Katie is amazing. She is a wealth of information. If you have questions, if you have comments, she provided her information. Please reach out to her. She is super helpful, does amazing things for garden centers. And one quick plug, remember the recording is going to be, we will have the recording. It's all of the information that Katie has presented will be sent out. We'll clean up the recording a little bit, send that out early next week so you can share that with your team. Please do share it. And come back next week. We've got John Kennedy, John and Suni from Boomerangle will be here. John's going to be talking about consistency and really how to create that experience for your customers to wrap up the fall webinar series. But with that, Katie, thank you so much. You were amazing. And I think we've all mind blown. Now it's like on to what can we try for the rest of the afternoon.
Yeah, go try it. Have fun, guys. I'll see you. See you on the internet.
Bye, Katie.